So today's video is going to be focusing on the question of what is the best knife to carry for self-defense. This is going to be an everyday carry or EDC tool that you are going to have on you or you're going to pass on to somebody that you care for the purpose of self-defense. Instead of providing you with a direct answer of this model or this particular blade is the best bar none, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about three criteria or filters that you can use as a framework to decide whether or not the blade that you're carrying or the blade that you are looking to purchase actually fits the role that was previously discussed. So let's get into that video now.
I'm going, yeah, my blood is rebel. I'm going to another level.
Should your blade that you're going to carry for self defense be a folder like this, or should it be a fixed blade? Should it be a small blade, or should it be a large blade? What about the blade design? Should it be something that has serrations or no serrations? What about your carry positions? Should it be on your belt? Should it be able to be clipped directly onto things that are not actually secured through a belt, like active wear, or in turn onto shorts? Should it be something that focuses on being a utility blade as well as a self defense blade? What about the locking mechanism? Should the lock be a very specific thing if you chose a folder? All of these blades here are obviously from Skallywag Tactical. You can purchase these blades on skallywagtactical.com. But the answers that, or the focus we're going to be working on today, or the criteria, covers any blade. What about the weight of a blade? This is a very light blade, and in turn, it can be carried on things like a suit. It is a more premium knife metal. Does that actually matter when you're talking about the top three criteria? Should it be something that is designed for knife fighting? This type of a blade here feels really good in the hands. It allows you to work and manipulate the blade very, very well. It's balanced very well. It is based off of a Persian fighting knife. Or should it be something that isn't as complex as that, like a dagger, that in turn has very limited use as far as slashing and maneuverability, but you're just basically poking holes in the shit? Is that important to you? When you're talking about your blade design, should the handle have a certain thing or certain style to it? Should in turn the finger stop be a certain length? Are you talking about deep carry like this knife here? Or are you talking about a more traditional carry where it is going to be protruding out of your pocket? Should it be a fixed blade that's meant for personal protection, completely designed for that? Or should it have multiple uses than anything else? You'll notice that this MDV has the ability to be used on a belt. We have other sheaths for it. And then if you were to carry a folder, should it have the ability to do a manual carry or a manual open, or should it have some sort of ability to have a kinetic opening, just like these Bramp triangles or an Emerson hook, whereas you draw it out of your pocket, it automatically is in play. A lot of these types of videos will focus on a number of those different features, and they will also talk about price point. This blade here is under $50. This blade here is over $200. Now, the question starts becoming, with all of these features and all of these types of setups, what is most important when you are actually carrying a blade for personal protection or self defense? Now, when asked this question in person, it is usually easier for me to answer this because I have a little bit of knowledge of the person that is asking me. And so I can create a customized answer that kind of focuses on their life as well as their personal experience. Because I don't know who is actually watching this video, I'm going to identify the group of individuals that this video will best suit as anybody that is carrying a blade for self defense. This is also for individuals that are looking to purchase a blade for a loved one that they hope is going to better equip and prepare them for any type of violent encounter in the future. So, when you watch videos that try to answer the question of what is the best self defense knife to carry or weapon, period, a lot of times you need to identify who that person's talking to. Now, the goal of this video is to provide you with a knowledge transfer to allow you to have a framework to bounce off of so that you can pick a tool or you can take the tool that you're already carrying and see if it's a good blade for personal protection. Criteria one is this is a tool that you are going to carry all the time. This is a bladed tool, or even when you're talking about firearms, this is something that you will carry. And there are very few exceptions. So technically, it's a tool that you're going to carry within reason. And to answer the questions of what do you mean by within reason, you can cross reference the third requirement to answer those things. So, a lot of times, the only time that I would disarm is in places that it is absolutely illegal to carry a tool. Now, a lot of this is focused on lifestyle, what you're willing to do, what you're looking to have on a regular basis as far as your experiences, if you have children, your family, what have you. I know a lot of the individuals that are watching this may have built their life so that the requirement is a little bit different from one lifestyle to the next. But let's talk about certain items that you have that fall within what I call an EDC. Okay, so EDC is something that you carry on you regardless of where you're going. So, what could fall into that category? Well, your wallet. Your wallet, in turn, has identification and the means to pay for shit. You have your keys. That is, for those of you that use a vehicle for transportation, your ability to actually drive that vehicle, as well as the ability to enter, exit, and lock your primary residence. So you wouldn't leave your house with either one of those two on a regular basis. Another item that would fall directly into that is communication. So your phone. So a lot of you, if you were to leave your phone at home by accident, you would feel naked. Well, this is the same thing with the tool that you are going to use for self defense or personal protection. You want to identify something that you are willing to carry the same volume, if not more, than those three items that I just talked about. And a lot of times, what this does is it eliminates your more traditional tools or weapons that people would consider their EDC. So, this has to cover every single aspect of your life. That means that not only is it carried when you are at your workplace, when you are out about and about doing normal activities like shopping or errands, not only in environments that you expect there to be shady people that you might have to deal with in a violent scenario. We're also talking about environments where you are just going down to the street to open your mailbox to check your mail. Or if you got home and within an hour you realize, oh, I forgot this item at the store, like milk or whatever, produce, and you're like, I'm just going to run down to the store, put some shorts on, and just pick up that item. Whatever you choose as a tool needs to be on you in those environments. The next thing that you want to focus on is also activities that you wouldn't normally consider within that requirement, such as if you have children and you are going to a local park or you're in your backyard and you have children over or whatever, and you are going to be playing something like flag football, or you're at a local park with your toddler, and in turn you're in the sand and you're going to be playing, in that environment. Would you have that blade or that gun directly on you? And in a lot of those scenarios and a lot of those activities, the fact that you have it on you would almost be considered irresponsible. But there are tools that you could have on you, bladed tools like folders, that would hold and would not be exposed or fall out, depending on how you carry them. If you are at home and you have relaxed, what type of tool could you carry between your different rooms, whether you were letting your dog out to go to the bathroom or you were just watching TV on the couch with your family? Do you disarm? Because if somebody were to break into your house at that time, or somebody were to say bump into your vehicle at at that time and you were to walk out and try to see what was going on, then you were assaulted, you would need to access whatever is directly on you. And if you were constantly disarming all the time, then that would mean that everything would have to be an unarmed defense. And so when you start talking about the tool that you carry, when I consider everyday carry, it's like a 99% carry rate. And a lot of times, even though I carry a firearm in most scenarios, I will admit that there are a good 15-20% of the time where I just either can't carry a firearm or I choose not to because it's too likely for that to be irresponsible for the environment or the activity to expose the fact that I actually have something on me. And it's just too hard to be situationally aware to protect that weapon from either falling out or something happening in that environment. So the thing is that that is what I mean by you are going to carry that tool. Okay. So whatever the scenario is within reason, are you going to carry that tool? This also talks about comfortability. So, for many of you that have experience, you wear clothing in a way that allows you to conceal weapons because that is your lifestyle. You have to understand that if you are giving a tool to somebody that doesn't have that type of mindset or they're brand new to this environment, they may not have clothing or they may have a style of the way that they dress that does not allow them to carry the tools that you would choose on a regular basis. So if you want to carry a fixed blade all the time and you're talking about your daughter that's about to go to college, she is not going to carry a fighting knife because it doesn't make any sense because of her style. Women's clothing do not have real pockets. They don't normally have belts that they carry on a regular basis. If they do, it's not really a real belt. It's just like this piece of cloth that goes around. And if they do carry have a belt on, then on a different day they don't have a belt on. So you would choose a tool that would be able to be placed on them in most scenarios. This is going to be a better choice than something that is larger or something that is more tactical. And so when you are talking about that requirement, it needs to fit their lifestyle and it needs to make sure that it does not interfere with the activities and the lifestyle that they wish to have. When you start restricting certain things, like you're not allowed to carry it here, you shouldn't carry it like this, or you can't dress like this, what happens is you start limiting the likelihood that they're going to actually have that blade on them or that say firearm. And obviously, if they're not going to carry a freaking folder on them in those environments, the likelihood that they'll carry a firearm is even worse. So that's my first requirement. Let me know what you think about that. Let's go into the second requirement, which is you are going to have to deploy that blade in a real self defense encounter. The second one is going to be you need to be able to deploy the blade. All this means is that in an actual scenario where you are going to protect your life or the life of somebody that you care about or somebody that you care about is going to access this blade, it needs to be on them. And they need to be able to access the blade regardless of where they are. A buddy of mine has a saying, and that saying is you don't get to choose your fight, you just get to be in it. And so it doesn't really matter whether you want to be engaged in a violent scenario at the time that it happens or you believe that you're prepared for that, you are going to have to perform when the time happens. So if you are in a scenario where you are sitting down at a restaurant and somebody were to come up upon you and you need to access that blade, can you do that? If you are in a more weird scenario like you are taking a shit at a public bathroom and somebody were to come into the stall or kick the stall in, would you actually be able to access that weapon? That's a more humorous one, but it gives a different idea of what I'm talking about. Are you sitting in a vehicle? Are you, once again, at a playground with your child? There is a pretty famous clip within the last couple of years that comes out of Europe where individual families were assaulted at a playground where a psychotic individual went to a playground and tried to stab toddlers and children in strollers and their mothers with a knife. And in turn, in that environment, you need to be able to access whatever tool that you have. The thought process is that not only do you need to be able to access it on your access and deploy it, but because of the requirement I just gave, it needs to be on you. It needs to be on your person. It cannot be in a purse. It cannot be in a fanny pack for those of you that like to carry them. They became pretty popular in the last year for whatever reason. These sling packs, these backpacks, people carry tools in those different and people carry tools in those packs. And in turn, what happens is that's great. But if somebody were to attack you, your ability to get to that in a timely manner, deploy it, and protect yourself is very, very limited. When you have a firearm, in turn, what happens is, depending on carry placement, you may be able to access that in most environments. Depending on the carry position, you might not be able to access that if you were to be assaulted in your vehicle because you're sitting on it or leaning on it, or while you're driving. Or in turn, if you got taken to the ground and you realize shit just starts to escalate, meaning it's not just one person, it's multiple people just stomping on you, and you have to access a weapon, or else you're going to go into a coma because they're just going to kick you until basically, well, things don't work anymore. So the idea is that the second requirement is no matter what you choose to carry, you need to be able to deploy it to protect yourself because this falls into that self defense category. So, if you are giving it to someone, they need to be able to carry it on their person. Now, there are many different ways to adhere to this rule. For females, they have activewear that you usually carry, and that allows them to carry it around their waistband. For those that have more formal wear, you can have them carry a smaller blade in the bra strap. And in turn, what happens is they can learn how to access it from there. For males, we tend to have the ability to carry it in our primary pockets, our right or left pocket, or right behind the belt buckle. There's just a lot of different ways you can carry this on your person. But remember that when you need it, it needs to be on you. And so remember, when we're going through all of these different criteria, you cross reference them. If the first one is adhered to, but the second one isn't adhered to, then it does not fit this framework. It needs to work on all three. So let's get into the third one, which is it needs to be legal. All right. So the third requirement is it has to be legal. And I believe that this is one that a lot of people overlook or they don't really put a lot of consideration into when they're giving advice to people based off of the state that you live in. If we're just talking about the United States and the environment and local rules and regulations, there are a number of tools that kind of just like are not able to be carried. And a lot of people will have this mindset that it doesn't matter. I'm going to carry this because if I need it, it needs to protect my life or the life of somebody I care about. Now, on one hand, I truly understand that mindset. I truly do. But on the other hand, if you don't understand how things are going to go down after you use the tool for self defense, you might find yourself going to prison under the thought process that if it's justified self defense, that all things are going to be overridden. And that's not the case. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But based off of the place that you live, so let's just take the United States, certain laws and carry permits will allow you to carry certain tools. For example, if you are in Florida and you get a concealed weapons license, which is what you get, then you can carry any weapon that is concealed. And so that means that if you have a 15-inch blade that is concealed under its proper definition of concealment, then you can carry that blade and it's a fixed blade. If you want to carry a dagger, then in turn you can do so. If you want an out the front knife where you push a button and it just shoots out the front, then in turn you can carry that. But most states aren't that lenient, or most states, their permits or their licenses do not cover that. So, for example, in North Carolina, which is where I'm at right now, when you go through the classes and you get a concealed carry concealed gun license. For example, in North Carolina, where I'm at right now, when you get a concealed firearms license, it allows you to carry a single firearm, but it does not include other weapons like the Florida license does. And so, in turn, what happens is you are restricted in many different tools. Now, the way that the laws usually fall within North Carolina, folders that fall directly into its own handle itself and are concealed under a certain length, in turn, are legal. And so you can carry folders that fit within that environment. You are not allowed to carry anything that's automatic or button press unless you are military law enforcement. Daggers are not allowed to be carried. You can carry fixed blades. They can't be concealed. So something of it has to be overtly present. So your like something like this could be held in your pocket as long as this is sticking out. You technically are not concealing it. But what I don't like about stuff like that is you when you are defending yourself and you are explaining the scenario to law enforcement, you have to convince them and the jury when you are defending yourself that you did abide by those rules or that law. And so if the person that is in opposition of you can create doubt that you actually followed the law, then in turn you're going to be charged with illegally carrying a tool to harm another person. And so you are going to run into those issues. The other thing that I believe falls directly into this requirement is you need to be able to explain the tool that's on you, which a lot of people kind of like overlook. So this, as much as I love my design, it looks like a knife that's designed to open people. And if I were to have this on me and law enforcement were to come up to me and I don't have a concealed weapons license on me to justify carrying this in a concealed manner, and they were to take a look at this, what happens is it's very difficult for me to just convince that law enforcement officer that this is a tool that I carry for work. So it is something that I use in construction. Or another thing that we talk about is you can say that it was a gift from a loved one. So your wife gave you a cool folder to carry for just opening up boxes, but this doesn't look like it opens up boxes. Once again, it looks like it opens up people. If you take a blade like this, it kind of looks like it's a ordinary folder. There is nothing about it that in turn is automatic. There's no assist, meaning when I start to open this, if I do not create enough inertia on this or I don't pop my wrist properly, it's not going to open all the way. Somebody that takes a look at this could identify and be like, that's a regular folder. Something like this that has an assist on it, in turn, would be considered illegal in many states. And so when you are confronted, a lot of times you have to focus in on those things. So I get the idea, especially for those that are knife guys, they don't like folders. They talk about fixed blades. But the thing is that if you are in a place where that is illegal and you defend yourself, you are going to be charged and you're going to have to prove certain things. So you're going to have to justify self defense. And you're also going to be charged with another thing. If it is illegal in that area, then you are going to be charged with carrying an illegal item or illegal weapon that's meant to harm people. And so, if you are carrying a fixed blade and is not allowed to be carried, it is against the law, not only will you have to justify self defense, which a lot of times, if you do it properly, you can be acquitted of that charge. And in turn, what happens? Everybody on the jury goes, yes, that was a valid scenario of self defense. There was three people with pipes, and in turn, they were going to beat the living crap out of that person and try to kill them. You drew your knife or you drew your pistol and you shot them all. And in turn, what happens is everybody's like, that's 100% self defense. But then, if it is an illegal tool or weapon that you're carrying, you will be charged with that and you will lose that part. And now I understand that a lot of times, if you are in a state that leans a little bit heavier towards those protecting themselves, that sentence is going to be reduced. But I don't care if you're in jail or in prison for 6 months or you're in prison for 10 years. The thing is that you're still going to prison because you chose to carry a weapon that you knew was illegal. And if you have a permit on you, like you actually went to courses, it's going to be very hard for you to state that I didn't know that that was illegal. And so that is the other thing about certain laws is a lot of times for you to have knowledge or training means that you knew better, and it gets upgraded from things like it gets upgraded to a felony just because you have the requisite knowledge to know better. This also includes carrying your weapon in areas that you're not supposed to, going to large gatherings such as amusement parks or going to, a government building and trying to carry something on you. I've seen a number of comments in our videos where people are like, why don't you create something that can pass through metal detectors and stuff like that? That would be an awesome tool. Well, the reason for that is no matter what the reason you have for carrying that tool in that environment, if you have to use it, you are going to be charged with carrying that weapon illegally. And you're not going to win that. And so the thing is that there's no reason for us to create that. It's irresponsible. Whether you believe that or not, it doesn't matter. There is the understanding that when you are advising people to carry things for self defense, it has to fall within those parameters. And so that's my third requirement, which is it has to be legal. I don't like this third one. I'd much rather have the mindset of you carry what you carry. You're a law abiding citizen. And in turn, if you need to protect other lives, that should override the fact that you are carrying something that you probably shouldn't at that time. But understand that if you choose to use that tool in that environment, you are going to prison. If you are willing to do that, then you're willing to do that. But I cannot advise for people to carry that in that type of way, just as a general reference. So these are our three requirements or three criteria that I have when you are choosing an everyday carry, whether that be for a bladed tool or a firearm. Hi, guys. So, those are my three requirements or criteria when you are considering a tool for personal protection, self defense that's everyday carry. What do you guys think? Do you think that that's a good framework? Does that span the majority of groups? Who doesn't it apply to? Did I miss anything? Should I add to that? Is there another topic or criteria that should override one of those three? Give me your opinions in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of knowledge transfer and mindset type videos, I can create a lot more of these types of videos. If you'd rather see more technique or product videos, let me know in the comments as well. Once again, this all the blades that you saw today, you can get at skallywagtactical.com. My name is Michael Donvito, and I will see you guys in the next video.
I'm going